What's up, boys? So you're playing chess and your opponent begins with the dreaded London system. They're hoping for some kind of slow, positional, safe game where they can just get their moves going. But today I'm going to be showing you all my very aggressive and rare anti-London system. Begins with knight f6, c5. And based on the Lichess database, London players do not know how to deal with these structures where they lose their central pawns. So that's what we're building it on. But let's get started with some sidelines. So this is technically a gambit. I say technically because after takes knight a6, there's no real way for them to hold on to this pawn. So they're going to have to give it up. And if you look at this position, we've got decent development. We've got two central pawns against one, where we have very easy development, just fianchetto. You can go for a King's Indian sort of pawn storm. You can just expand on the queen side. Very easy to play, and exactly what you want with the black pieces. Next up, we have the top engine move, but surprisingly rare, d5. Here, I like to go for what I would consider a better version of the Benko or Benoni. So you're going to be developing like this, and if they ever play c4, you can either enter a Benko Gambit, or the easiest thing to do would be just play b4. Restrict the knight, just develop, put pressure along this long diagonal, castle, and at the right time, look for an e6 break. That's a pretty straightforward middle game. Now the last sideline we're going to look at is knight f3. This is actually a mistake because after takes, we've got this nasty tactic, e5. Point being, they take, we fork them, and they're just losing material. If queen takes, we win a free tempo, and we can just develop. Normally, you can push d4, or you can just go for the same Dragon Sicilian type pressure on the queen side. Now, we can take our time a bit on the main two moves. Let's start with c3. Here we take and play queen b6, putting pressure on the b2 pawn. In this position, almost all of the most common moves are mistakes. Most common is b3, and after knight c6, e3. Now you can actually play e5 here, but I like to start with d6 and then play it. Now, this may look like we're just blundering a pawn. 3 attackers, 2 defenders, but you remember this weak diagonal we created early in the game? Most people are going to take, and a shocking number of people take this and lose a piece. And they don't lose a piece. What are they doing? You can give them check. All this pressure, king stuck in the middle, you should be winning here. Instead, if white tries to hold on to the pawns with the queen, we just play knight c6 and knight e4, and after queen c2, we can actually give up our knight because of d4, and we're going to be winning this rook back. A variation like this. If they find the right move, which is probably queen c1, don't blunder this, but we will just go for our same old development, right? You got an equal, maybe slightly better for black position. It's like a King's Indian or a Dragon Sicilian where white has not played properly, right? obviously e3 we just take, queen b3 we just take. If they play knight c3, technically we shouldn't take this. Seems like no one really knows that this is the move. The point being, after takes, there's bishop d2. I don't think that's very human. But yeah, again, you can just go knight c3. And then I think there's no problem taking this. Yeah. That's probably enough for c3. Let's get on to the main line e3. Here, again, we're going to take, but instead of queen b6, we're going to be setting up the fianchetto directly. Now, what I've noticed about these positions, especially in the e takes d4 lines, is that white players cannot handle black's plan of pushing e5. Despite the 3 defenders, it is very, very hard to stop it. So if white just plays the normal London system moves, they think this works against every single opening, right? Despite 3 defenders, we can already play e5. The point being, they take, this bishop is hanging. And if we just keep trading, they're down a piece. So taking is a blunder. White has to retreat, and then after some trades in the center, I think only black is playing for an advantage. You can develop like this, and you got 2 very nice bishops, target the weaknesses, take the open file, all that jazz, right? So basically any line that involves bishop and knight like this, e5 is going to be very dangerous. They may also go bishop e2, which is probably the best move, which is a little rarer. In this case, you're just going to have to play these sort of positions. Prepare e5 and do a random move. We should be able to do it here. Takes. Obviously they can't take. And now we have e4, forcing the knight back. And visually, this is not what you want if you're a London system player used to having beautiful bishops and development, right? You can even just go e3 and crash everything open. I believe the only move that can actually stop e5 is knight here. You can always chase it away or play bishop e3. Yeah, so it's really hard for white to stop e5. Shockingly hard. And if they play the most common moves, they're going to end up losing a piece on move 11 in a London system, right? Now, it's not too common for London players, but they can also play c4. Here, I just develop normally, and you can look for a d5 break. The point being, if they take, you got this weakness, which you're going to just pressure the whole game, and you win it, you should be in a better endgame, a winning endgame. And if they play c5, you have knight e4, which they can't take. They take, too many things are hanging. It's a nightmare, right? So tricky position, you just have to remember d5. That's your main break, because e5 isn't really happening and white has a lot of central space. Alright, to summarize, after c3 takes queen b6, most of our play is going to be on this half of the board. pressure, and we're going to use this weak diagonal to look for any forks or tactics. If they play e3, again, we're going to takes, and this time our player is going to be on this half of the board. So we're going to be setting up our Bianchetto, looking for x-rays along this diagonal, especially if the knight and bishop are like this, and playing e5, and we got a simple game plan. I don't think anything else should be too scary. If they push, we're in a better Benoni. They take, we win it back, and we have at least a much better position positionally. Might win some games like this as well. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll beat some London players.